and welcome to Today in History for December 25th, Christmas Day. I'm Michael Powell. I've heard this story I don't know how many times from different friends and never really knew whether it was true or just a legend and whether they heard it from their friends. But today I found out that it is true. And I'm talking about the Christmas truce of 1914. Shortly after midnight on Christmas morning, the majority of the German troops engaged in World War I ceased firing their guns and artillery and began to sing Christmas carols. At certain points along the eastern and western fronts, the soldiers of Russia, France, and Britain even heard brass bands joining the Germans in their joyous singing. At the first light of dawn, many of the German soldiers came out of their trenches and approached the Allied lines across the no man's land, calling out "Merry Christmas" in their enemies' native tongues. At first, the Allied soldiers feared it was a trick, but seeing that the Germans were unarmed, and they climbed out of their trenches and shook hands with the enemy's soldiers. The men exchanged presents of cigarettes and plum puddings and sang carols and songs. There was even a documented case of soldiers of opposing sides playing a good-natured game of soccer. The so-called Christmas truce of 1914 came only 5 months after the outbreak of war in Europe and was one of the last examples of the outdated notion of chivalry between enemies in warfare. In 1915, the bloody conflict of World War I erupted in all its fury, and the concept of a Christmas truce became unthinkable. As I said, I thought that had always been a legend, and now I know it to be true. Interesting story, and kind of a happy story for a Christmas day. Thank you so much for watching. Check back tomorrow to see what happens in that day in history. Until then, Merry Christmas to all.